Welcome, everyone. Still a lot of people here. I saw a lot of people leaving already, and it's, I think, the last talk of the conference. It kind of scares me, and also the big room. Yeah, we'll see. Glad you're still here. I hope you enjoyed the conference so far, and I hope I can, keep up the good stuff. And I want to talk about code reviews with you. Very quick introduction about myself. I'm Frank. I'm from Hamburg. There we say moin instead of hello, and moin doesn't mean good morning, it just means hello. You can give me any feedback via Twitter, good, bad stuff. If I screw up anything, please tell me, because then I can do it better next time. If you liked it, I like it if people like my stuff. And I'm also being a freelancer for like 2.5 years now, and my main focus is code quality, software architecture, all that stuff. So, question first, why are you here? Is anybody of you not doing code reviews? Oh, there's 2 in the back, there are more. Oh, wait, okay, nice. Typically I would ask why not, but I think that's a little bit a room too big for that. Important thing, I will not talk about any tools. I will mention some of them, but this is not a talk about tools for code reviews. I don't really care about the tools. You'll see later why. So if you're expecting anything like, oh, I need the perfect tool for code reviews, I'm very sorry. I think there's another talk right next door if that's more interesting for you. But the good news, who of you doesn't know Jeff Edward? Who of you doesn't know Stack Overflow? He's the guy who wrote it. It was basically founded by 2 guys, and one of them was coding, that was him, and the other guy was just, yeah, it's a good idea, and we do it together, more or less. But it's still a great guy. He wrote it, the first version of Stack Overflow was written by him alone. And he has a nice blog, Coding Horror. It's a very good source of information, of good stuff, and good ranting. And I totally agree with that statement that peer code reviews are the single best thing you can do to improve your code. No matter the outcome, no matter what I will talk about being more effective or not, do code reviews. It's better than not doing them. So, I want to talk about 2 things. It's a very small agenda. I want to talk about the status quo, how most people do code reviews, and then I will see, okay, what's wrong with that, and how can we make it more effective and better. If I do it in smaller rooms or with a smaller group of people, I will typically ask them how they do that, but I think we will skip that for now, because otherwise the conference will take a little bit longer. So, coming to a status quo of most reviews, disclaimer, my personal experience with companies, with people I work with, and companies that hire me, how most of them work and the problems I face there. You may have seen other problems or even less problems, and that's okay. But most of the times, yeah, code reviews are fun, right? Looking at them and, oh no, okay. It can be fun if you take it in a fun way, but it can be serious. So the first thing I want to talk about is the mindset you need for code reviews. I will talk about the intention behind code reviews and the results of code reviews later, but the first thing about the mindset. How do you do your code reviews? What's very important for that? Who of you likes to be criticized? It's interesting, nobody was showing up until I raised my hand. Most people really don't like to be criticized, especially developers. We have a huge ego. We put a lot of work into our code. We wrote that, we spent maybe days thinking about that, how to do that, and then there's a code review and someone comes around, no, I don't like that, that's not good. You have no fucking clue what I did there. I mean, come on. I spent days working on that, and now you tell me you don't like it? And you tell me that's wrong? It doesn't feel that good. And who of you has known this sentence like, no, that's not my code, I wasn't that? Not me, he's not here, he has left the company. No, my code, I don't know anything about that, sorry. I didn't write that, I would write better code. And you reviewed that, but you reviewed the part I didn't write, so now I don't care about that, I didn't write that. Yeah, we try to push everything that criticizes us, like find us finding explanation why we didn't do it, or why we did it like it was, or why we're not responsible for the stuff that's bad. It's your choice. Jeff Atwood gave basically this is the idea behind Stack Overflow. They wanted to get people out there to write stuff and get people to tell them what they're doing bad. So yes, it's your choice. Everybody has the right and freedom to totally suck in private. If you're doing a home project in your basement, nobody will ever look at that. It's completely okay if it's the worst code ever. But if you're working in a company where other developers are working in there, you're working in a team, it probably should at least be a little bit better than that. So think about who will else use the code, read the code, and maybe maintain the code. I'm not sure if I get the saying right, but there is this saying, I don't like it too much, but like always write your code like if the maintainer will be a psychopath who knows where you live. Yeah, it's a rule you can follow by, and I kind of agree, but it's kind of harsh. I like my people. I like the people I work with, and so basically I want to like the people that maintain my code as well. Coming to the intentions. What is the intention? Why are you doing code reviews? Can anybody tell me they know, their team knows why they're doing code reviews? Okay, more serious, like, I mean, there are a lot of, a colleague of mine, when I showed him that, he asked, yeah, because I'm a narcissist. I'm just like that. I like criticizing people. Fix bugs, yeah, it's a very common answer. But most teams really don't even know why they're doing code reviews, because everybody is doing them. And some guy at a conference told me, do them, yeah.
No, to get everybody acquainted with the code that person wrote so everybody knows what's going on there.
Like knowledge sharing.
Like what?
Knowledge sharing, everybody knows what's going on. Yeah, that's good.
That's one of the reasons.
So if you do code reviews, what are you looking for? Optimization, probably looking for bugs. Design decisions, okay. Maintainability. Some things are easy to classify. Some of these things are, okay, they are open for discussion depending on my opinion, your opinion, other opinions. But there's a very interesting thing. Microsoft did a study in 2012 and asked their development teams, okay, what is your motivation for doing code reviews? And of course, finding defects, code improvements, alternative solutions, knowledge transfer, and some other stuff. But the most interesting part is the result, because they looked at that, okay, what's really going on there? What is really the main benefit we get from our code reviews? And yes, defects is in there, but not in first place anymore. Like code improvements, like we have smaller code improvements. It's something, the main benefit we get out of that. Like improving the code, better naming maybe or something. Understanding the code, it helps other people to understand what's going on, really understanding the code in general. Social communication, like people talk to each other because they talk about how do we want to do that. So it improves the communication within a team. And then, yeah, you can find defects, but probably unit testing or testing in general is a better way to find defects than code reviews. A friend of mine who worked at Apple for 8 years as a senior developer had a huge team and said, yes, they do code reviews to find defects. But they have specialists, especially for that, with a huge knowledge, and they do code review in a completely different manner than most of us do them. They have a real intense process for that because they were writing software for the operating system. And of course, they want to find the bugs before they go live. For websites, yeah, okay, we deploy again, or we roll back. It's not that important. Other example, I mean, if you're writing software for airplanes, you probably don't want to do update over the air, right? I think they will do code review in a different style. And they will, of course, focus more on defects and everything. But for general software, the most important part you get out of code reviews is code improvement understanding. So what about the results in general? Do you fix anything you find in code review right now or later? Depends. What about different opinions? You say, my code that should be fixed. I say, no, I like it that way.
Well, again, depends on what are we arguing about, yes.
Yeah, but it's like, if I know that you always criticize my opinions and I know you won't, Maybe I ask him next time to do my code review. How successful are your reviews? Okay, you're doing reviews. You're doing stuff. Can you tell me how successful they are? Do you say they are successful or how successful? So it's not, successful means nobody's complaining about them, or do you really know what's going on? Okay, that's good. Because most people, if I talk to companies and say, how are your code reviews going? Yeah, they're doing great. Does it mean nobody complains, or do you know that they're effective, that they really are successful? Most of the time they say, oh, nobody complains, right? That's good, isn't it? Most of the teams don't even know. They do code reviews and don't know why they're doing, and they have them and don't know, yeah, do we get any benefit out of that? They think, and it helps in any way, but they don't know really in what way. And for fixing right now or later, sometimes they fix them, sometimes they don't fix them and then forget them. We'll see. So what I also had with the example, the results you get from code review normally are kind of based on experience. If you're experienced developers who know much more what they're looking for, what might be problems for the future, also the timing. If I'm very busy with my own project, with my own stuff, and I get a really huge review on my table, I say, oh, I don't have time for that. I need to finish the other stuff. So maybe I will, if I have to do it, I will maybe just take a quick look. Yeah, looks fine, thank you. Or the general motivation. Do I really want to do code reviews? Do I like that guy? Do I want to see, okay, how much can I find with him? Or, yeah, it's okay. He always does good stuff, so it's okay. So basically, good luck with that. It's really completely luck-based, and we don't know what we're doing there. It's better than nothing, again. So let's take a look if we can make it more effective. I need to take a quick look on my time. Yeah, that's fine. Talking about the mindset again. It's actually the title of the first talk I ever gave about code reviews, Leave Your Ego at the Door. As a developer, we have this huge ego, but if possible, really forget it at the door. Go into a code review, especially if you have a meeting or sit together with people, and take it. They're not criticizing yourself, they're criticizing the code, they're criticizing what is going on in the team. There might be reason beyond you that led to the bad code or the bad outcome. Maybe there was enough pressure that you need to do it in a quick way. And also, again, as I said before, that this was all the idea behind Stack Overflow. Attempt to be also in public, embrace the suck. The idea why they wanted to have Stack Overflow was like they didn't like all these PHP boards, they didn't like Expert Exchange, what was around at the time. I think it's still around, and that they had like a paywall before that, and like they wanted to give people a platform where they can go out, ask people what they're doing wrong, and get other people to tell them what's wrong. So they can improve, they can learn from that. And get people to really go out and, yeah, embrace the suck. It's really hard if you are not used to that. And I've done code reviews with people in companies or with departments where we started the code review and the developer was sitting there. Okay, come on, tell me what's wrong. Yeah, it's quite a good start from that. If he doesn't like me, that I will tell him things where he can improve, it will be hard. But forget your ego. It's not about you, it's about your code, and try to learn from that. Anybody not heard about collective code ownership as a buzzword or whatever? I mean, it's not your code, it's the code of your team. Your team is responsible. You want to share the knowledge. You want to get, if you're going to be sick or leaving the company, you want others to be able to take over your code. It's not like your private code you're taking home. It's like something you do for the company, for the customer, and it should not be like your ego should belong to that. So what I always like to do is like team reviews. Most people do code reviews like a pull request or at least on 4i principles. Team reviews are a very good start to get all the people together, have these different opinions, and let these opinions clash. most of you probably have seen team reviews in the form that the guy who wrote the code will explain the code or show off the code and tell other people, I did that, and now you can tell me what I did wrong. It's very nice and it's a very good way if you, for example, wrote an API and you want to present this to a different department that will use the API. But if you're doing this within your team, I always do it a little bit differently. I pick someone else who has never seen the code before, and he will explain the code to all the other developers. If he cannot explain the code at that moment, how will he fix the bug half a year later if he needs to check the code? So it's a really nice way to figure out, is my code understandable? Is it really, and understandable doesn't mean I understand what's going on, but I understand why the code is doing that. When I ask people, okay, how's your code documentation? A lot of people say, yes, our code is self-explanatory, you can always read what's going on. I don't really care too much about what's going on. Yes, the code should show me that, but I want to know why. Why did you do this method? If you think about it, when you do bug fix hunt or hunting a bug later on, and you obviously, okay, there's this method. I don't understand the method. I understand what it does, but I don't understand why he did that. That really looks strange. And you sit there and you don't know. Okay, you ask him and then you remove it and figure out later on, now I know why he did that. And these are the hard parts later on with finding bugs and understanding code. They are not about how we are doing this, but why we are doing this. Why did we do this workaround? There's a reason behind that. And a team review where someone else who's never seen the code has to explain this to all the others helps, because we will easily figure out these points where nobody knows what's going on. It's always fun because I'm usually moderating these meetings, and if the reader goes silent or goes quiet, I always tell them, please think loud, because you're now stuck somewhere. I want to know where, because there's probably missing some information, maybe just a small documented line, or maybe it's really confusing what's going on there. But these are the important parts. Once you get stuck, you want to know why. And it also really helps for a team to develop this common sense of code quality. How do we as a team want to work together? We have different opinions. You want to find any small bug. Whoever, I don't want to finger point for that, don't really care about code quality at all, but we need to, as a team, we need to find a common sense, a common guideline, a common ground, how we want to work as a team. Because it's not my code and your code, it's our code. So, coming to the intentions. Why are you reviewing your code? You should at least try to figure this out. There's nothing I can answer for you, because every team might have a different intention. For Apple, for NASA, for Airbus, whatever, they probably have a different intention why they're reviewing their code, because they really want to make sure there are no critical bugs in there. Other teams might say, okay, we want to make sure that it's fast enough because we need performance. There might be multiple reasons, and you need to figure out why is your team doing code reviews. And then you can also decide what are we looking for. If we know why we do this, we can decide what do we need to look for in order to figure this out, in order to improve this. Coming back to the study, the interesting part is when you figure out what you're looking for, how much understanding do you need for that? For example, for defects. If you're not just looking for syntax error, you're looking for logical errors, you need to understand what's going on. You need to understand why this is being done. If I don't know why the code is written that way, I will never come up with an alternative solution. Because, how can I propose an alternative solution to something, to a problem I don't understand? Share code ownership. Also, in order to be able to have someone else take over my work next week, he should be able to understand what's going on. Knowledge transfer is, of course, the way that you get there. And all the others, like defects, are not even on here. Finding defects are the highest thing. But some other stuff, like code improvements, the small ones, they are right in the middle. You don't need too much knowledge about what is going on there to just make the code nicer. But to find alternative solutions, to find bigger problems, you need to understand it. So if you want to do something like that, figure ways out how your team knows more about the code, how everybody is on the same page. And then you can also decide, how do we do code reviews? If I know why I'm doing them, if I know what I'm looking for, I can decide, okay, what's the right method? Who of you is doing code reviews via pull request? Who of you is doing code reviews in a different way? Ah, okay, a couple. Can someone just shout something? How you are doing? Pair programming, yeah, okay, it's on there. Pair programming is basically code review on the fly. If you have a 4i principle, there's always someone else who's looking at. It's good if you frequently switch pairs. If you always the same pair, it's not so much an effect. Any other ways to do code reviews? Okay, at least I can hear anything. Pull requests are really nice, especially with Git nowadays. What do we do if you have a really fresh new project? There's no code base, or maybe you're just starting, it's not online yet, you're just developing, you're building the basic stuff first. For pull requests, you need feature branches, or branches at least. So do I create feature branches now just to have pull requests so I can do code reviews? There are tools out there that can do, if you want to use tools, you can do code reviews commit-based. So even if you're doing trunk-based development, what I usually do when we are just starting, because we don't have any conflicts, we are not online yet, we don't need release branches or anything. There's Garrett out there if you're using a Atlassian stack, but you need it on-premise, not on the cloud. There's Fisheye and Crucible. There are a lot of tools out there that can help you that are not only for pull request. And also, what about long-living feature branches? If your feature branch is like 1 or 2 weeks old, I don't want to do the code review.
We split off that branch into smaller pull requests.
Yeah, but basically you're doing this basically for code reviews, right? You're splitting up your feature branch into smaller things to have earlier code reviews, right? So we are building our development process in a different way because of our tools. I personally don't like that. I want to use tools that support my development process and not the other way around. So there are other tools out there that can help you having a development process that is not relying on pull requests only. I like pull requests. I like pull request code reviews. But if you're working in a different way, think about if there might be other tools that can help you as well and make it more easily and more effective with that, so that you don't have to screw around with your work process or development process just to be able to do code reviews. Pair programming, who of you is doing pair programming? About the half. The other people do it. It's great. It's awesome. It's fun. Yeah, nothing more to say about that. Would be a different topic. And as I mentioned before, code review meetings. There can be multiple reasons why I want to do a meeting in a bigger round. As I said before, like if you want to have the team develop a common sense or a common understanding of code quality, it's the best way to start. Also, if you want to present something, a great solution you found, or you need to present it to a different department, of course, a bigger meeting is perfect for that. I also like creating a coding guideline. This is not a coding style guide. Coding style guide is the things where do I put my brackets, tabs, spaces, stuff my IDE can tell me or can fix for me, and my continuous integration system can tell me if I did something wrong. Guideline is for me the stuff that's not possible to check by a tool. They might be a little bit not that concrete. For example, we can say we want to have small methods, so we don't have these long, big methods and mess up where nobody knows anymore what's going on. But you may not want to put a number down there, like all our methods need to be less than 50 lines of code. Because what do you do if you have 51? Is it okay? Is it not okay? It might be depending on the situation. So it's kind of something you cannot put into a tool, but anybody as a human can look at this and say, yes, it looks okay. So you have a guideline how you want to work together. This is something the team needs to create. It should not be given by managers or just by one senior developer, but the team itself should decide what are important things for us. And this will differ completely from team to team. If you're working in a small internet agency that just puts the website out there for half a year, you don't really care too much about maintainability and everything. If you're in a finance sector building a software for a bank, you probably have different views on code quality and what is important for you, and maybe even for security reasons. And it's a living document. It's not something you write once and then it's gone, but if you do these meetings, these code review meetings regularly, and you come up with something, oh, we need to decide how we handle this, you can put something in a guideline. Very important, it should not be like a 20-page document. It should be like maybe a couple of items you have in there that are very important for you. It's not something we create a real overhead and stuff, but a small thing where everybody knows this is how we want to work. Benefit, if any new developers comes in, he will already know, he can take a look at this and knows, okay, these are important parts for our team. And coming to the results. You should keep track of your results. If you don't fix it right now, make sure you have follow-ups. Either as a meeting if you need to decide how do you want to fix it, or maybe just create a ticket so you don't forget it. Yeah, tickets can be forgotten as well, I know, but at least you have it in there, and if it's important enough, it will come up again. But it's always kind of sad if you say, yeah, wait, we talked about this 3 weeks ago, we wanted to do that, but we forgot about that. So make sure if you find anything that's important enough, follow up. If you do these code review meetings with like a group of couple of people, I recommend not more than 7 people. If you have moderator and the one who wrote it, more ideal is like 3, 4, 5 people. It's still important if you do this and you take a look at the code and you find something and you have a discussion about how should we solve this, postpone the discussion. You're doing the meeting because you want to find stuff. I've seen meetings where like after 50 lines of code, they found the first big thing and they were discussing about that like 1 hour. But there might be a much bigger problem 10 lines below that. If you just discuss this one thing, you don't know what else you would find. So if you notice, okay, we need to discuss about that, postpone it, make a follow-up meeting or whatever, or just say, okay, we can talk about this afterwards and go on. Try to find more stuff. You want to find stuff. If it's just a one-liner where you maybe rename the variable, you can maybe even do this right on the spot. But for anything that needs a discussion, postpone it. It's not within the meeting. Otherwise, we'll just have a lot of discussions, and everybody will sooner or later say, these code review meetings are not really useful because we are only discussing. And yeah, not everything needs to be fixed at once. Maybe you find something more like an architectural thing, so it's technical debt, and you don't want to fix it for this pull request or for this commit, but you know, okay, we need to take a look at this and need to find a way how we solve this. Maybe we even need to make a bigger story out of that and need to have a refactoring. Maybe we even need to get some consultants in-house to help us fixing this problem, whatever. It's okay, but you found it, and that's good because now you know you have a problem there. And for these guidelines, the nice part is, I mean, a checklist sounds like very formal and now we want to do stuff, but for example, you can, if you have a small guideline with 5 to 10 items on there, you can make a very quick checklist everybody can use for the code review and can say, yes, we did a code review and we agreed on these things, and yes, I checked them. If you do it as a real report or as a real document, doesn't matter. It might be just, okay, these are our guidelines, these are our checklist for the code review. If you do a code review, please make sure that these guidelines are followed. Even any new developer can do that. Normally, if a new developer comes into a company, his code will be reviewed, but he will not do the reviews because he's not familiar with how we work. If you have this guideline and checklist, you can say, you can do a code review here, and you can use this checklist, and you already know how we are working. You know what you're looking for. You know what's important for us. And if you have customers or like legal responsibility to make sure that your code applies to whatever standard, you can even create reports out of them. I would not recommend that for any normal team, but if you have reason for that, maybe for management or whatever, you can use that to even say, okay, we are working our code quality, we are looking for these things every time, so all our code follows these guidelines. And no matter if I ask you or if I ask someone else, they all agree to that, so we all look for that, so this luck factor and how much you invest in there is at least reduced. Of course, if people don't follow the guidelines while they do the code review, that's another problem. And yeah, also to do a Mythbuster slide, so if you write it down, if you keep track of things, you can improve. If you just think you're doing stuff and you're not sure, and yeah, maybe we're doing this, and maybe he's doing that, and maybe he's not doing that. It's just luck-based. So if you write stuff down, if you focus and find out what's really going on, it helps you being more effective. And that's more or less the end already. In order to make your reviews more effective, forget about your ego. Leave it at the door. It's not about you. And also very important, if you're the reviewer, it's not about the other person. Don't criticize the person like, what did you do there? But why did you do that? Can you explain this to me? And this is really a good idea, but don't criticize the person. Do no finger pointing. If you remember the slide with the results from the study, there was no thing in there that like finger pointing was the reason we did that, or finger pointing was our motivation. If you do finger pointing in reviews, you have a big problem, and it will even be worse because people will not like reviews anymore if they get blamed for that. Public shaming is not a good idea for that. You want to find stuff to make it better. Have a guideline as a team, create something, figure out what you're looking for and why you're doing that, and figure out what are the most important part for you as a team that you need to take care of. And all the stuff you can automate, automate them. And follow up on your results. Like if you're doing all these meetings and find a lot of stuff, but don't really care about them after 1 week, it's not that helpful anymore. Well, no matter what, even if you don't like all this stuff, please do code reviews in any way. It's better if you do it more effective, but code reviews are really, really useful. It's the best thing you can do to get some communication in your team, to talk with other people, to get other opinions. Me personally, that's why I mentioned in the beginning, I love to get feedback. For my slides, for my talks, for whatever, because I know when someone tells me that wasn't good, I can improve for the next time. Same for code, same for architecture, for anything you do. Once you get over this, like I'm getting criticized, and it's still hard, I agree on that, but it's also a lot of fun. I will never do an architecture or write a bigger code without review. If I write do an architecture design or a vision or concept, and I give it to people who are in the company who have maybe more experience about the domain, and I tell them, take a look at this, please give me feedback, what's wrong here? What can be improved? And nobody they all say, yeah, it looks fine, it's good. I get really nervous. Because I know I'm not perfect. I know there are stuff in that can be improved, especially if they are the domain experts. And either they didn't take a look at that and didn't have time, didn't have any motivation to take a look at this, or they didn't find anything. And I didn't find anything, that might be there some bigger stuff hidden in there, and then I get nervous. So really get out there, enjoy having people criticize you. It's really a lot of fun, and you can learn a lot from that. And yeah, that's the end. I'm not sure how I'm with the time, but thank you first of all, and any questions, feedback, whatever. Questions? I know it's late and everybody wants to get home, so. Okay.
How do you handle the code reviews when you have mixed teams like front-end and back-end in one team?
How do I handle code reviews with mixed teams, front-end and back-end, right? Typically, especially in the PHP world, most PHP developers can read JavaScript, and most JavaScript front-ender can read PHP. So they are perfect for being the reader for the different code reviews. A JavaScript guy can read PHP stuff, and a PHPer can read JavaScript stuff. They don't have to understand all the technical details maybe for a framework or whatever's being used there, but they are or should be able to understand what's going on there. And it's even more interesting because as they're not so familiar with the language and with the frameworks, they may ask stupid questions that nobody else would ask.
Do you have separate guidelines for each?
Yes, because there might be completely different reasons, like for security stuff in the back end is completely different to something in the front end. Whatever's necessary. I don't have you always should have these guidelines, but figure out what's important for you, and some stuff might be front end, some stuff might be back end. Yeah.
Who reviews the code? Is it always the employees within the same team for the same project, or are you getting opinions from different teams?
okay, the question was who reviews the code, is always within the team or maybe from different teams. Depends. If you have a small team, and I've seen teams like with 2 or 3 people where everybody says, yeah, we all know the code, so who should be the reader who reads them, for example. It's very nice if you have different teams, you can ask them, can you play the reader for us and we play the reader for your teams? Because then you get knowledge sharing across teams. Even in bigger companies, like completely different teams. I've worked in the game industry, in browser games, and they were developing different browser games. But it was still fun to have like, different opinions on how do you do that? Can you explain this to me? Because they're not familiar with how we handle stuff. If the team is big enough, I would always pick someone from the team, so you have the knowledge sharing and there's all information within your team. If the team is smaller and you don't have people in your team who can or are not involved in this code, try to get someone else from a different team. It can be used really as a way to get more interaction and more communication between teams. If there's like a front-end team and a back-end team, the same applies what I just said for mixed teams. You can just pick someone from the front-end team or the back-end team. First there.
I have a question on how do you balance the code review on the complexity of the feature? Because if we're implementing a really complex topic like authentication for the user, at what stage do you start saying, okay, now I need to have a code review for this stage, this stage, this stage? Or do we say, okay, we implement the entirety of the feature and then thereafter do a code review?
Okay, the question was like, how do you handle complex features that are already, or that take a long time to develop, in stages or not? Okay, are you doing development agile? Do you do iterations? Is it feature one iteration or one sprint or multiple sprints?
Well, it's multiple sprints.
Okay, so you're breaking the agile idea already. I know. I mean, that's now just talking the ideal world. It would not happen, but in the practical world, it happens. I would try, if you do pull request code reviews, you can only do it at the end, right? Or you're doing splitting up. That's why I prefer other tools that let me if I have a small working status, I can do a pull code review for a small status and do this with another tool. So we do code reviews in between. And if it's a very important module, for example, like payment, login process, something, I will use these for the meetings because I don't want to use any boring code in these meetings, but I want to have very important modules code within this meeting so we can share the knowledge about that process. If we like talk about the payment process or the login module within our meetings where all the developers were present, the next time someone asks, we have a bug in there, nobody can say, that's not my code, I've never seen it. We've all seen it, we all talked about that, so we should all be able to understand it. And this is very important for the important code, and for controller, typically not so. But I would split it up and try to do reviews in small steps, because if you have a large feature with like 20 files for review, I don't want to do the review. Because then you really take either a long, long time, or you just fly over all the stuff and say, yeah, it looks okay, done. Thank you. There was another question behind you.
What are your acceptance criteria to merge?
Again, the last word, to merge.
API.
What are my acceptance criteria to merge a pull request? Depends on the situation.
Your personal, but team. How many approvals you want to get, or
Typically we have like these 4I principles. Someone else needs to review the code. And we have this code review meetings. But 4I principles, like if we have this checklist, this guideline, we know what we're looking for. If these are fulfilled, it's okay. But most of the teams we don't just work with pull requests. And pull requests, depending on the team, as I work with different customers, depending, like there might be other things that are involved. Like do we want to merge it because that might trigger deployment? So even if the pull request is like, okay, it's okay, we can do it, we will not merge directly, maybe for reasons. Also, of course, I want to have continuous integration that checks all my stuff. Is everything green? Are there unit testing? Are there unit tests? Are there new unit tests for the new code? Are code sniffer stuff, or is my Sonar cube saying everything is okay? Depends on the team, so it's hard to give a concrete answer for that, because it really depends what are my tools, what I'm using there, and how much I am looking at stuff. So no, we need one. No, not mine. I don't like neither me nor anybody else being the one guy who approves anything. It's a team thing. It's agile. You need someone else. You need someone else. You need a 4I principle. You need yourself, and you need someone else who looked at it and said, it's okay. Someone else on the team. I don't care who it is. I talked with another friend of mine about that before, and he asked me, what do you think about stuff like that? There are reasons. For example, you have someone else who is the only guy who really knows about certain security stuff or certain regulations, and he needs to give an approval. There might be situations where this is feasible. In most other cases, it looks for me like someone wants to control the stuff that's happening. Take a look at, if I was being asked that as a team lead, can you please take a look at all the commits that people are doing? No. I declined that because, no, I'm not controlling developers. If they have a guideline, if they know how to work together, they can check it for each other. They don't control each other. It's not about finger pointing, figuring out, do you do anything wrong? It's just about, I know I'm developing something and I need someone else to take a look, did I miss something? But if it's one centralized person, it's not my job. If I'm a team lead or something, it's not my job to do code reviews. If I'm coming to a company and they ask me, can you please do a code review to figure out where our problems are and what we can do better, maybe architecture-wise or something? Yes. But I will not do any code or all code reviews for all pull requests. I'm not an inspector. I'm not a controlling the people. I don't like that at all. So the team, it's an agile team. They should work together. They should all know what they are doing, what they are looking for, and they should be able to do the code review by themselves. Any other questions?
Should code reviews for pull requests be always done in person with the developer, or is it enough to comment?
Should code reviews for pull requests always done in person, or is it enough via the tools? For that, I would just use the tools. And once you find something, talk to each other. It's always better. If there are remote teams, it's not possible anyway, but it's always better to have, if you find something where you're not sure how you want to handle it, then talk to each other. If you find something, okay, you forget something here, it's easy, please do that. Also, question of follow-up. If I found something and tell you, please fix it, will I do another code review after you fixed it, or do I trust you to have done that? Ideal world, you should trust each other that way that people will not ignore that. If you have the problem that people ignore stuff that people found in code review, you have a different problem. You have a problem in your team. I would always say do it in person, or if you find something that needs to be discussed, maybe even ask the whole team, because not only you two have a problem with that or need to decide that. But if it's just something, here, make a marker, use a tool and say, here, this needs to be fixed, maybe think about naming or whatever, that's okay. You don't need to do that in person. I will never, because it would take too much time. If you do pair programming, you're already doing this in person. As I said before, with 4I principles, even with pull requests, if you've done it in pair programming, it's already okay for us, because we had someone else looking at that. I know, for example, Google has some really strict guidelines for code being checked in. You need to be certified for the language. At least it was a couple of years back then. I don't know how it's now. You need to be certified for the language. You need to have, you need to be certified or allowed for this part of the code. And I forgot the third one, but basically you need to have these guys or someone else with these guidelines to be able to review your code. They have some more strict guidelines for that, so it's very interesting because they have a huge code base, and basically in Basic everybody can commit code to everywhere, so they need to come up with some guidelines. But still, they just have 4I principles, and if you find someone else who is allowed to do so, it's okay. Any other questions?
What are you doing if you are coding alone? Say you're a freelancer.
Yeah. What are you doing if you're coding alone and you're a freelancer? I'm a freelancer, and I'm really glad that I don't sell myself as a code monkey, because I like to. I know a lot of people and freelance developers who are just working on their own, and I wouldn't like that. I don't think they're doing a bad job or something. I don't like that. I like to work in teams. I like to work with people. And I know I will make mistakes. I mean, I do this sometimes, and I still want someone, if I'm working for a customer, have someone from the customer side maybe take a look at this, please. But I will not merge if they're working with pull request. I did it as a favor for a company in Hamburg a couple of weeks back. And I always ask the developer in-house, please you do the merge, even if I could do it, you do the merge, take a look at this because I might have missed something. So there's at least someone else who has taken a look at that. If you're really purely working on your own, find a co-working space. Find people who are freelance developers as well. Talk to each other. So you can get feedback. If I'm not a customer, I'm usually at a co-working space. I have other people there who are freelance developers for front end, whatever, who are mainly working alone. And at least I have some communication, knowledge sharing about stuff that's going on. It's not always just code reviewing, but I need people to tell me if I'm doing stupid stuff. Yeah, if you wait long enough, it's not your code anymore. Depends. If you have a customer, you should hopefully have someone else who can take a look at that. And if you're just writing it for your own, you will still stuck with your code. But you will probably learn from that if you take a look at that later on. If I really am forced to do that, I would at least use as much tools for static code analysis as possible. It will not find all the stuff I mentioned, but it will help you even at least get a little bit better feeling for that. That's the bad situation in general. Any last question? I think time is nearly running out.
Do you think there are differences about code review between code review in open source and code review in team projects?
Yes. The question is if there are differences between code reviews in open source and in normal projects within a team. A lot of open source projects rely on pull requests, and they review that not only based on like coding standards and if it's okay, but also do we want to have this feature in here. So they will not allow the normal developer to push code into their main repository for reasons, because we are open source, you can contribute, but we take a look at this and decide for maybe strategical reasons or whatever if we really want to have this in here. So they need to have a code review not only based on the code alone, but on the feature and what the feature provides. So yes, there's a difference. And they are remote by default, so they cannot use the tools and they cannot do a code review meeting. But a lot of coding standards and everything came out of open source projects because of these reasons, because they agreed, we need to agree on something because we are in different locations. We are working all on this big project together, and we don't know each other. So we need to come up with guidelines, with rules, how we want to work together. Okay, I think we are over the time now. Thank you again. If you have any feedback, talk to me later. Send me via Twitter or something. And if you're staying, enjoy Berlin, enjoy the workshop tomorrow, and otherwise, maybe see you next year, see you in Munich.